Hi, and welcome to Joyful Heart Kitchen. And today, this is how much bread I have here left. And we're gonna make some bread because we need more bread. I'm trying to cut the grocery bills down a little bit. So it's pretty simple, pretty easy. It's not complicated at all. So most women are very intimidating about it, but it's really not that hard. And I think all women should learn how to make homemade bread, just in case. All right, so I'm gonna drink some coffee here. Clean up my counter, wipe it down from this morning, and we're gonna get making some bread. Okay, so this is normally what I used to use. This was by Homestead Tessie. I actually wrote this in my recipe book. But I used to use this, and then when I came across the Kneady Homesteader, I don't know, it's kind of similar to this. The only thing different about the Kneady Homesteader is there's an extra cup of flour. Now, she originally had 2 teaspoons in her recipe, but my bread didn't do very well with 2 teaspoons, so I upped it to like 4 teaspoons, and it did much better on the second loaf that I made. And as for salt, I don't like a lot of salt. It was 1 teaspoon of salt, so I cut my salt down to half. And I didn't use dry milk. I did use dry milk, but not regular dry milk. I used buttermilk, dry buttermilk. But here is the recipe that I've been using. So far, I'm liking it. I'm liking the buttermilk in it, even though that there's butter in it. But it's not much different than this one. Not much different than that one. Almost the same measurements, just a little off there. But yeah. So I cleaned the counter off. Now I'm going to get our ingredients. I have my big bowl right here that we're going to use. We're going to use to put our dough in. In this bowl, I always put my dry ingredients. I always put my flour in there. So let's go ahead and start making our bread here. I'm going to go get some ingredients and I'll be back. Okay, so I've cleaned my counter with my homemade Lysol wipes. I've got my 4 cups of flour. Got my stuff all ready. This is my dry buttermilk. I got this at the Amish store. And then I got my pastry cutter, knife, butter, my Himalaya salt. That's the only salt that I'll use. Measuring spoon, measuring cup, and this is a meat thermometer, but you can use this as well for baking. Anyway, I do with mainly my water. Your water has to be at a certain temperature, but not too hot. We'll get to that in a minute. So actually we're going to get to that right now. So I make sure your water is, had to grab my kettle is at 110, between 110 and 115, no more than 120, because you don't want to scald your, actually no, you don't want to kill your yeast. You don't want to kill this yeast. So you don't want to do that. So make sure it's not over 120. If it is, let it cool down, or go ahead and add your sugar. Sometimes adding your sugar might cool it down a little bit. So we need 100, or not 100, 1.5 cups of water. We're not quite there yet. That looks about right to me. Okay, put this away. I'm going to put my water in the bowl. No more water. I know that doesn't look very much, but it'll all work out at the end. And I need 2 tablespoons. We need 2 tablespoons of sugar. So let's go ahead and get our sugar. And basically you need the water warm for dissolving the sugar, basically. And the reason why you need sugar in your water, so that way your yeast will be active. And I forgot my whisk. Thought I had everything. Okay. Get this sugar dissolved in the water. Just keep stirring it until it's all dissolved in the water. Sugar you use, as long as it's sugar. Okay, it's all dissolved. Mine has color to it because of the sugar I'm using. Whatever sugar you're using, it might have color, it might not. So let's check the temperature. Make sure it's not too hot, because we don't want to kill our yeast, because that can happen. Okay, it's not even really moving. Oh yeah, it is. Slowly. Very slowly. Okay, I might have to pour some of this in the measuring cup and nuke it a couple seconds here to get it. Alright, well, when you come to this problem, obviously it's not to where it should be. It should be at least 110, and we're not even making it to 110. So when you run into this problem, just put it in a measuring cup, a microwavable one. Pour it in the measuring cup, and we're going to nuke it for, I don't want to nuke it too long because we don't want it too hot, because then we're going to have a problem. We're going to have to wait for it to cool down. So, I don't know, let's nuke it. Okay, so I microwaved it for 60 seconds. Let's hope it's not too hot, because then we're going to have to wait. Alright, let's put it back in the bowl and check the temperature Hopefully it's not too hot. Oh wow, I might have got it too hot. Well, maybe not. See where it's in between? It's basically at 115. That's okay. We didn't get it too hot. But if it's past 120, it's too hot. It will kill your yeast. So 60 seconds did fine. Alright, let's go ahead and add this yeast. I'll set you guys down here. Kind of hard to do. Alright. Add 4 teaspoons of yeast here. Okay, so we're going to add 4 teaspoons of yeast. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And I store my yeast in the freezer. I guess that's a good place to store your yeast, is what I've been told. Okay, so it's already starting to foam. Now when you add your yeast, give it just a quick stir, not too much of a stir, just like that. Not too much, like I said, you don't want to overwork it. And I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes, and we're going to let this poof. Okay? Actually, I'm going to set the camera right here, and you guys can witness the poof. I've seen it poof before. It's actually pretty cool how it happens. Alright, so I'll see you back in 10 minutes. So wasn't that the coolest thing ever? How it, like, that was really cool. I know you guys seen that. I thought that was amazing. So I'm going to show you what the yeast looks like after it does its thing. Okay. Here is what it looks like. It's all puffy and bubbly, and that's what it should look like. Now we're going to go ahead and get started on this flour. And we still have our salt and butter and our dry buttermilk. But you can use just regular dry milk too. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this flour ready. Let's see. Now, her recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of salt, but I'm only going to do half. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the flour. And I'm going to go ahead and put the dry buttermilk in there too. And this actually smells like buttermilk. You can smell it. So 2 tablespoons of dry milk. don't know. I think the buttermilk just gives the bread a good taste, I think. Alright, 2 tablespoons of butter. We're just going to go ahead and cut this. We're going to go ahead and put it in here. And then that's what the pastry cutter's for. We're going to get this, basically grind up the butter here. There you go, you guys can see it, into like cornmeal. I'll show you after we get this. Mix all the dry ingredients in here. That's one of the cats that you're hearing. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and cut the butter up in there. Just cut it up so you don't see it no more. It'll be little tiny pieces in your flour. See how it's sticking? There we go. Clouds can't make up their mind what they're gonna stay or go. Making bread kind of reminds me of, as a child, playing Play-Doh. It's kind of what the dough feels like when you're making the dough. It feels just like Play-Doh, and when it feels like that, you know you got it right. That's how you know you got the right texture of the dough. It feels like Play-Doh. It's kind of funny when you're a kid, all these things you do, you don't realize how later on in life, how it's going to help you. Just like girls playing with baby dolls when they're little. Basically, it's teaching them motherhood. So, yeah. And FYI, there's nothing wrong with boys playing with baby dolls. It teaches them fatherhood. Just saying. Teaches them how to handle a baby. You know, I know I let, not so much my youngest son was interested in baby dolls, but my oldest son, he liked playing with baby dolls. I didn't see nothing wrong with it. To me, it was teaching him how to become a parent one day. There's nothing wrong with that. Alright, I think we got all the butter mashed into the flour. Some people melt it and put it in their yeast. I don't. I just put it right in my dough, or in my flour. Okay. There's still a little bit of pieces in here, but I think we'll be fine. Yeah, there's still a little bit of butter in here, but that's okay. Don't stress over it. We seem to stress a lot. Alright, So just add your flour mixture with your butter and all your dry milk and salt. Add it in here. Oh. Trying to get where you guys can see. There. It's getting dark in here. My furnace just kicked on, so hopefully you guys can still hear me. It isn't actually blowing yet, but it will be here soon. Okay, so I'm gonna get my bread spoon. I call it my bread spoon. It's a plastic white spoon. We're gonna mix this all together. I'm just going to keep going. Usually I shut the camera off when the furnace kicks on because it's so loud. But we got to keep going. We got to keep making this bread. Can you guys see that real good? Let's move you guys closer. Don't want to make you sick. Just mix it all up. It's going to start forming. Here, let me move you guys down. Hold on, I gotta fix you guys. Okay, you guys can see now. Okay, buddy. Sorry, that was my youngest boy. He's doing schoolwork, doing homeschool. You know, it might look like a mess, and you might think, how is this going to turn into bread? You will see in a minute. Yes, it looks like a hot mess, don't we all? But if you keep working at it, just putting all the love and time and effort, it will become a beautiful bread. And there's my furnace that just started blowing. And we're going to keep going. Keep it going. Okay, we're going to get my hands in here. Yes, I have clean hands. And we're going to start shaping this into a dough ball. Or we could just keep working at it with the spoon. I don't know. Now, we need to get our hands in here. Yeah, alright. Yeah, we need to get our hands in here. Okay, I'll be back in a minute, guys. Okay, so we're back. I got me a cup of flour just in case. We might not need that, but here's our mess that's going to be a beautiful bread. We're just going to go ahead and dump it on this counter. And it's already been cleaned. So, I'm going to dump this all in here. Get all this goodness here. Stick into the bowl. you get the hang of making bread, it'll be like a piece of cake for you. The first time might not go perfect, but that's okay. It's all part of learning. We're not perfect. Okay. We're gonna start kneading this all together. Get this all nice into a dough ball. It's coming along pretty well. It's soft. And the more you work your dough, here, let me move you guys over. The more you work your dough, the more softer it's going to be. This is how you knead dough right here. I don't even think we're going to need that flour. You don't want too much flour in your dough. You want a light and fluffy bread. You really don't want a heavy bread. I think we got enough flour here. So we're going to knead this for about 10 minutes. That's how much I do this, for about 10 minutes. And then I will get back to you after 10 minutes and I will show you what this dough will look like. Okay, another thing I want to add as I'm kneading this dough, I forgot to mention, the reason why you gotta knead the dough is because we're working the gluten in the dough. And that's what makes it fluffy and soft. And that's with the yeast too. So that's why it's important to knead your dough, because you're working all the gluten in your dough. That way it'll be nice and puffy. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes and it's really squishy and soft. Oh wow, it's soft. So we've worked all the gluten. I didn't even need that cup of flour, so we're good. I guess it depends on the humidity. So that's good. All right, here's the bowl that we had. And I'm going to spoil. I got my can here. I bought this on Amazon. You can find this at Meijer. You just basically fill it with oil. Not all the way, but like halfway. And you just pump the thing. Pump it until it's like really hard to pump. There. And then spray your bowl. It's better than using the store-bought. And we're going to put our dough, nice, soft, squishy dough. Look at that. Look at this nice, soft dough. I'm like working the dough here. This dough smells really good. Okay, and we're gonna let this sit in the bowl for an hour to rise. For 1 hour. In here, and I'm gonna spray the dough. Oh jeez, I think I need to fill my oil bottle. Okay, there we go. And I can't find my tea towel. but I found a piece of fabric. I'm gonna wet it and put it over my dough. I don't know where my tea towel went, but if you don't have that, just get a piece of fabric if you sew. I don't sew. I have no idea how to sew. The only thing I know how to sew is like buttons or a rip or a tear. That's all I know how to sew. So we're gonna wet this up, put the wet cloth over the bowl, and I'm gonna preheat and get my oven nice and hot and ready for the dough at 350. So at 350, I'll come back and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so it's been an hour. We're gonna take this wet cloth off, and it's risen a little bit there. It's risen pretty nice. Now we're gonna take this off. And now what we do is get all that air out. Get all the air bubbles out. Yep, get all the air bubbles out. I'll be over here so you can see. And then here's my bread pan. We're gonna oil up the bread pan a little bit. Okay, that should be pretty good. And what we're gonna do now is almost like a pizza. We're gonna take the dough and we're just gonna roll it just like that. And then the sides here, I'm gonna chuck in the sides and pinch it up. Pinch up the sides here. Same thing with this end. Just tuck it in, pinch up the sides. And then we're going to put it in our bread pan. Just kind of fit it in there. I don't know what that was. Flatten it out. You guys see that? Just flatten out the bread there. I'm just pretty much what I'm doing is making sure it's all even. Alright, and then what we're going to do, Seems like one side's a little more than the other, but it's just dough. It's okay. Everybody will eat it. They don't care, right? Okay, so we're gonna put this. I'm gonna set this over here. Excuse my kitchen. I'm washing my dishes and cleaning up my mess. My oven's on and ready and hot. So I'm just gonna set this on here where it's warm. We're gonna let this rise, and it's already set for 350. Can't see it's worn off. We're gonna let this rise up to the rim here, and then we'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like. Hello. Okay, it has risen, and I realize it's kind of lopsided, but my family is not gonna care. All they're gonna care about is eating bread. So it's not the perfect bread, but that's fine. So now we're gonna bake it in the oven, and I will come back when it's done. You will know when it's done, like Rachel Ray says. You will smell it with any food that you cook, and when you take it out of the oven, you tap it, and if it's hollow, it's done. That's how you know. So I will come back with you when it's finished. Okay, so the bread is all done. All done. And hear that hollow? That means it's done. And then for the soft, oh, that's hot. For the soft crust up here, we're gonna get some butter here, and this will soften up the crust. So we're gonna go ahead and rub this butter all over. That's to keep the crust soft. And then I let it cool down before cutting into the bread. Always wait till it's cooled down, even though it smells amazing, which I know is hard because it smells really good, but you don't want to cut the bread when it's hot. It's best to wait when it's cooled down. Okay. All right. Looks shiny. All right. So we're going to let this cool down, and I will cut the bread so you guys can see the inside of this delicious bread here. All right. All right. So the bread is cooled. It's still somewhat warm. But I'm going to turn this bread around, and I'm going to cut the bread so you guys can see the inside of it. No holes. Here's some bread. It's soft, squishy bread. Alright, we're going to put stuff in this, and we're going to taste it, because I cannot wait to take a bite of this. Okay. Alright, So here's the fresh homemade bread. I actually like the heel. Store-bought bread, not so much, but homemade. It's soft and squishy, buttery. So good. So much better than store-bought. Yeah, it's late. I got the lights on, it's late, but it's so worth. Cooking and filming takes a little longer, but it's worth to know how to make bread, and it's not that hard. The most work you're going to do is the kneading, which is about 10 minutes. And if you don't have, I know most recipes call for bread flour. You don't have to have bread flour. You don't have to use that. You can just use all-purpose flour. That works just fine. But make some homemade bread. It's not, it's a lot of women get intimidated by it. I know I was, but once you learn, and once you make that first loaf, you're going to be so proud of yourself. You're going to want to do it again. Your first loaf might not be perfect, but at least it will be edible. So, make some homemade bread, and your family will love it. Alright, I'm going to end this video finally. We're getting ready to eat some dinner. I'm going to finish my bread with my dinner, and I will see you guys soon. God bless, and take care. Bye.